Give it a shot! Bring it on! Take this! All right! Crush you all! Take this! All right, bring it on! Yeah! All right! Rasengan!
Hello. Which item would you like? Thank you so much. Please come back anytime.
I found... Here I come, Kakashi-sensei! Yes! I got the bell!
To bring down the curtain. Let's get serious. Not yet. It's over. Don't underestimate my puppets.
I'll give it a shot!
Hey, wait!
Take this! All right, bring it on!
Hey, wait!
Take this! All right!
Guess that's it.
I'm totally gonna crush you! Gotcha!
not. This is...
Rasengan! He disappeared? Kakashi-sensei, what was that?
I'm pretty sure he was just trying to slow us down.
What are they thinking?
Darn it!
Why do you try so hard to save Gaara? He's not even from your village.
Because Gaara's exactly the same as me. Plus, he suffered and fought alone even longer than I have. He was being targeted by the Akatsuki. Same as me. It's not fair. Why should his life be so full of misery all the time? Why him? That's why we don't have any time to waste. We've got to save him right away! Kakashi-sensei.
Everyone feels the same way.
I've never met someone like you before. I've rather taken to you.
Granny.
All right, let's go, Naruto. We've got to get to Gaara fast, right?
Sakura. Yeah. Just hold on, Gaara. I'll save you. I promise. And... All right! Everybody, put everything you've got into it!
The Jinchuriki was stronger than I thought. However, I've now fulfilled my quota.
More importantly, whatever happened to the little pests that were chasing after us?
Don't worry. We stopped them in their tracks.
Itachi and Kisame.
However, we don't have much time for leisure. They'll be here soon.
Let's get started then, shall we?
A lot of things have happened, but here we are. Now what? I want to learn more jutsu, go on more missions. I have so many things I want to accomplish. All right, I'm gonna do my best. Nothing's gonna stop me!